Welcome to for loops lecture. So for loops iterate over elements from a sequence, which include list, tuple, or dictionary, and outputs all the elements from the sequence. So let's just start off with a very basic for loop of for I in range 4, print I. As you can see here, we have 0 to 3. We could change that to say 10, get 0 to 9. We could do, say, the even numbers from 0 to 10. And it doesn't have to strictly be I, but it typically is an I. So we change it to say cake. That's not very intuitive. And with the exact same output. Okay, so moving on from that, let's say we do for I, let's do greeting in range 4, print hello worlds. And as you can see here with the output of the string hello world 4 times, 2 times, or 10 times, which is probably a little bit too many. Okay, so moving on from that, I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. And let's say we make a list of cats. So tiger, naturally, lion, jaguar, and let's say leopard. And then we do for cats in cats, print cats. And as you can see here, we have the output of tiger, lion, jaguar, and leopard. Okay. So moving on from that, let's say we do for num in range 4, print num, and then we can do num plus, say, 30. As you can see here, we have the typical 0 to 3 for the range of 4, but we also have the addition of 30 each time. I'm going to even go and do, let's say, num times num. Great. Okay. Moving on from that, and we'll try a nested list, so nest 1, and we'll have 3 nested lists. So the first one's going to be 10, 20, and 30, and the next one's going to be 3.5, 4.5, and 5.5. And then we'll do, our last one is going to be sword, hammer, and shield. And then what we can do is for I in range 3, print nest 1 I. And this prints out all the nested lists. Okay, we'll go a bit further than this using the nest 1. So let's say we do for I in range 3, again, res equals nest 1 0 I plus nest 1 1 I. So we're adding all of the elements from these two nested lists. So 10 plus 3.5, 20 plus 4.5, 30 plus 5.5. And then we do print nest 1, 2. So we're grabbing all of the strings, so sword, hammer, and shield. And then we'll do I dot capitalize. And don't forget to put the parentheses here, otherwise this function won't work for this list. Do plus, then we'll do power level equal res. We run this, and as you can see here, we have the sword, hammer, and shield with their own power levels, which we've calculated. And notice that I've used the capitalize, which has caused the S, H, and S to be capital letters as opposed to what it was before originally. Okay. And let's say we also do weapons equals empty list. And then what we can do is let's say we just simply delete all of this. We'll rewrite this part. Okay, so what I'm going to do is s, keep that in the proper indented block. So s equals nest1 2 I dot capitalize like before, capitalize plus power level again equals plus string nest1 0 I plus nest1 1 I and that should work. Yep, that should be fine. Okay, and then what we do is, because we have weapons as empty, what we want to do is weapons dot appends s, and then we do weapons. And as you can see here now, we have the strings for all of these sword, hammer, and shield, all these weapons with their own power levels as strings in a list, and we can access them. So we do 0 get sword, 1 is hammer, and 2 is shield. Before, with just the prints, which we did in the previous example, we couldn't actually grab the values, we could just only print them out. Okay, so moving on from that, what we can do now is, let's say, an additions table or multiplications table. So for I in range 1 to 8 colon print, and we'll do formatting plus equals dot format I plus I. And as you can see here, we have 1 plus 1 is 2, all the way to 7 plus 7 is 14. And we can change this to a multiplication, but we have to do the arithmetic here. This is just where it's represented. So do that. As you can see, we have 1 times 1 is 1, all the way to 7 times 7 is 49. Okay, there's another way of doing this as well. So let's say we do for k in the same range of 1 to 8 colon print, and then we do the percent sign d times percent sign d equals percent sign d, and then we'll do the percent sign, so it's the modulus rather, and then what we can do is k, and then k times k, and this should hopefully work. Great, so it's exactly the same output as what we have above, and we can change these to say f, and then we'll get floats instead, as you can see here. And we do the same with this. It's rather long, and we could do the same here with this as well. Okay, so moving on from that, let's say we do a tuple. So we'll do tup1 equals 10, 20, and then A and B, and lastly we'll just do 200 and 400. We'll do for t in tup1 print t. As you can see, it's similar to what we had before with the nest1, which we had output the nested lists. But what we can do is, let's say we do x and y, we'll do x and y. When we run this, we're going to get the output of the individual elements, and this is what's called tuple unpacking. So tuple unpacking, and if we put in, let's say, another fed elements in each of the nested tuples, and we run this, we're getting a value error. It says too many values to unpack, it's expected 2. So we've written that, or typed rather, we're going to have 2, but there's 3 elements within each of these nested tuples. So what we need to do is put z there and Z here as well. And now you have the output of all of the elements from each of the nested tuples. Okay, so moving on from that, what we can also do is, if I were to do for I in range 2, colon, and then I highlight all of this, and then hit the tab to shuffle it aside to the right hand side, and then run this, what you can see is it's given the output 2 times. That's because of the range. So we do range 1. It's the same as what we had before with just one for loop. So this is what's called a nested for loop. And if we change this to 3, we have the output of, let's say, ABC 3 times, as you can see here. Okay, so moving on from that, what we'll do now is dictionaries. We do D1 equals curly brackets, key 1, colon, and then we can do, let's say, before we do that, we can create cakes equals a list, and we'll do chocolates, so different types of cakes, lemon, carrot, which is my personal favorite, and vanilla. And then what we can do is the dictionary, so we'll do D1 equals K1 colon cakes, and then we can do K2 colon, and we'll do 10, 20, 30, 40. And actually what we're going to do is convert this into a tuple. So you can use either tuples or lists within a dictionary. And we do D1. And as you can see here, we have K1 with the nested tuple, or the tuple rather, and then we have the list within the dictionary. And we do K1, we get the cakes, and if we do K2, we get the numbers, the integers. Okay, so how will we do a for loop using a dictionary? Well, what we can do is for D in D1 K1 colon print D. And as you can see here, we have the output of the cakes, and if we do, say, K2, we get the numbers. Okay, let's just try a few more examples. So if we do for X in D1 colon, and for I in range 4, because there's 4 elements within each of the within the tuple and within the list, so we do print X D1 X I. And as you can see here, we have the output of all of the elements from both the tuple and the list. And lastly, oops, I just scroll down. We'll do cats again, and then we can do endangered equals serious, critical, very critical, stable. Okay. And then what we can do is for C in range 4 colon print cats C dot capitalize like before, and then we'll do level endangered, square brackets, dot upper. Okay, so as you can see here, we have a for loop that's printing out tiger, lion, jaguar, and leopard. And for each of them, because I've used this /n, it indentates the output of the print statements. So you have level equals serious, level equals critical, level is very critical, and level is stable, which kind of makes sense for leopards considering how mysterious and how stealthy they are compared to the other animals here. Okay, great. So that concludes my lecture on for loops with lists, tuples, and dictionaries. I hope that's been insightful, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the Q&A. Thanks.